Welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 148. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, I'm Gail Falkenthal, Community Digital News, Daniel Carpio of The Inscriber, Jacob Rivera of Jab Quick Boxing. What's going on, ladies and gents?
Hey all, glad to be here.
Good evening.
What's going on?
What's good? For those new to Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show as well as podcast and blog that discusses all things boxing. Motto is, when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. If you want to find all things Pound for Pound Boxing Report, all information about that, just go to the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com is the link. Check to the right of the blog page. We'll provide you links to where to find our pages on Facebook, G+, YouTube, Tumblr, as well as the Twitter page. Also links to where you can listen to us on Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, iTunes, Player.fm, as well as the email address. I've changed the email address, tigernet76@gmail.com. And before I start the show tonight, I want to give a special shout out to Chocolate Star Lives podcast, Danielle and Jared. On their show this week, on their show, I should say, they have a special segment called Others People's Podcast, OPP, if you will, where they will highlight other podcasts that they're interested in, that they like. And on this week's episode, which dropped yesterday, as a matter of fact, they decided to give a special spotlight to Pound for Pound Boxing Report. And Jared, especially, really summed up the show really well. Best that I've heard in a long time in terms of what Pound for Pound Boxing Report is and what we try to do here. So again, special shout out to Danielle, to Jared, and to Chocolate Star Lives for the shout out and spotlight this week, highlighting the show. With that being said, let's get this particular episode underway. I am going to start off with a bit of an apology for those who listen to us regularly. Did a lot of hyping up the Vasyl Lomachenko and Nicholas Walters bout. Talked a lot about how it was a bout that you should not miss. Reason I want to apologize because the fight turned out to be not worthy of the hype. A complete dud. Such a disappointment. Lomachenko won, and he looked very good in doing that. But the story of this fight, and I will go to Gail first, was Nicholas Walters, who quit on his stool. 7th round TKO for Lomachenko. Walters said basically no more. He didn't want to fight anymore. Again, I'm dumbfounded. It's one thing to lose, and yeah, Lomachenko was having his way, and Walters, after a good start, starting in round 3-4, in my opinion, it seems like all this fighting spirit left him. There was no creativity in terms of how to get to Lomachenko, excuse me. There was really no passion, no determination. And the way he sat on his stool and his comments afterwards has everybody in boxing talking. I know my brother, Natty Turner, the Yardies in Jamaica are not happy with the way that Walters performed and his attitude. A lot of boxing fans are not happy with Walters and his attitude, Gail. Talk about the bout. Talk about Lomachenko. And talk about Walters, because his rep is real low right now, and it's gonna take a lot for him to restore himself, given the way he basically bowed down and tucked his tail between his legs and ran.
Wow, dumbfounded is really the word. And now that I've had several days to roll over in my mind what happened, the damage that Walters did to himself is immeasurable. The man, in a moment's weak decision, has probably ruined his career. He is going to have to work extremely hard to get back. The Walters I saw deliver an incredible beatdown to, admittedly, a bit slowed down Nonito Donaire was stunning in how impressive it was. It made me want to see more of him. And he has over the last few years completely squandered all the capital he won for himself, all of the accolades he won with that performance. And it's a head scratcher to me. I don't know if it was the worst case of ring rust I've ever seen in my life, if there's something else going on with him in his head that he simply couldn't, you're right, muster any boxing creativity to adjust. He couldn't adjust whatsoever. I think you've been very generous saying that he was even competitive in the first few rounds, but certainly from 2 or 3 on, it was all Lomachenko. And we all are falling into a little bit of a trap by focusing on Walters, because it's true, Lomachenko is that good. He really is that good. But it's just so stunning what happened. We can't help but turn to Walters and ask a lot of questions. And, boxing's ethos about, the warrior mentality and the reason you're in there and giving it every ounce of effort until the last bell. I know that's how most people think. And it's not always necessary. If somebody's getting a beat down delivered on them, they're going to get hurt, but it's not to the point of a referee stoppage. The corner and the fighter really has to think about it. And there are times where that's a very smart, appropriate thing to remove yourself. But Walters was not hurt. He was not cut. I'm assuming he's never reported that he hurt anything. He didn't say, wow, I feel like maybe I've broken something, or I can't see, or, there's a million excuses he could have given, and we probably would have bought them. He didn't even try. It was a true no mas moment. And what I object to is not you need to be in there, until you can't even raise your head off the canvas. I don't believe in that. But you had a sold out arena on a Thanksgiving weekend of fans who paid their hard-earned money to sit there and watch this fight. And he didn't think 1 minute about all of those people, who are the people who in fact make his career possible in the end. And he basically gave every one of those people sitting there, who in that sold out venue, I might add, and everybody watching on a premium cable channel, he gave every one of us the finger and said, I don't fucking feel like it anymore, and walked off. Shame on him. Who's going to spend money to see him again? Nobody anytime soon. And because he comes from a nation without a long history of boxing, not a lot of boxers from Jamaica, he hurt them too.
Well,
he represents that entire country in that way.
In terms of the boxing history in Jamaica, I would push back against that, because there have been many prominent fighters, champions, ex-champions, maybe not directly living in Jamaica. Well, from a Mike McCallum, Simon Brown, others who are Jamaica. So it may not be extensive in terms of years, but with that being said, there's still a prominent and proud history there. And from my knowledge, watching fight, Leslie Stewart, also former light heavy. No, not Leslie Stewart. He's not from Jamaica. Excuse me. I apologize for that. But there have been other fighters, and from my knowledge, I've never seen a Jamaican boxer quit. Never.
Well, all right, and well, that's well put, and we should restate that there really is no one carrying the flag currently. That we can certainly say.
Yeah, that I will agree with you.
He is currently carrying the Jamaican boxing flag, and that's just a tremendous bit of damage when you do something like that. You're not always working just for yourself. But he sure was selfish. It was absolutely a very selfish decision. And right, who's going to want to go see him now? Who's going to want to go pay money for a ticket, thinking, oh, we're going to get a no mas moment again? If he doesn't feel any desire to be in there, that's his job. He chose that job, and he needs to do his job, and he didn't. He wasn't hurt. There was no reason not to continue, or as one of my colleagues suggested, all right, maybe have a little quick discussion in the corner and say, listen, I'm going to do my best this round, and I'll get busy, but if things aren't looking any better, I want you, the corner, to throw in the towel so it doesn't look like I am. And we would have all, we would have seen that happen and said, well, okay, that's too bad. But that's sure as hell a better way to go out. He didn't do any of those things. Truly disappointing. And, the final shred of disappointment is that we're talking about this and we're focusing on this. And it's diminishing the luster of the performance of Lomachenko, which was absolutely superb.
No, I'll go to you, Jacob, and then to you, Daniel. To Gail's earlier point about the issue of ring rust, Walters alluded to that after the fight. My problem is you can't sit there and use that as an excuse when you quit the way that you did. People are not going to hear it. It'd have been better off if he would have continued on and at least try. When I mentioned how he was had some positive things early in the fight, he was catching Lomachenko with some shots here and there, body shots in particular. And one of the flaws in Lomachenko, brilliant fighter, no doubt, really good at using footwork to set up a guy, to put guys in a position to land the punches that he wants to land. But there are times, and I mentioned this in a hangout with EJ Boxing Live over the weekend right after the fight. One of the few flaws of Lomachenko is that he can sometimes, because he's so confident in his footwork, there are moments where you can kind of get him in a position, if you're smart, you make him overuse his footwork to get him out of position to possibly land a shot. And Walters, he did land a singular shot here and there. Where was Walters basically going balls to the wall to pressure, since he really couldn't box with Lomachenko? We knew that before. At a certain point, just say, F it. Let me see if I can go after this guy and maybe put him in a position to give him a lucky shot. He didn't even try that. Again, as I stated earlier, he mentally checked out, Jacob. Mentally checked out. And that's what pissing so many folks off.
Yeah, I mean, Gail hit on a lot of points, and yourself, Michael. For me, Walters, not only did he disappoint his fans, and, he gave up on himself, in my opinion. And, boxing, like many sports, there's a big aspect of it that's mental, right? So whether you have belief in yourself that you can accomplish, these feats, whether it's, hey, I'm going to be outboxed in this area, but I'm going to get him in this area. And, Walters has that fight-changing power. But to your point, he didn't try to use it. And again, I think he would have been better served if he had come out in that next round and, give himself a chance and not give up on himself and say, look, I just have to land one punch. I have to be aggressive. I got to change what I'm doing because it's not working. But if I land that one punch, I can end this fight. And he just didn't do that. And I have a big problem with him in general, because before the fight, he was saying that the ring rust wasn't going to be an issue. He's demanding more money for the fights, and a lot of people are, trying to blame the promotion companies and things of that nature. Oh, he's not getting the fights or whatever. But when he's demanding this type of money, Gail's absolutely right. There's not a person that's going to put out that money for him again. Like he's basically going to have to start from square one, because he's going to have to prove himself against, 5 fights in a row for less money than he's going to make that he made last night, or I'm sorry, on that weekend. And he's going to have to build himself back up. And the thing is that once somebody quits once, it's that much easier to do it again in another fight. It's almost like a disease. It spreads, because if you had doubt in that one moment, you can have it could seep into your psyche again. And going back to that mental part of boxing. But to me, he was losing the fight, but I didn't think he was getting an ass kicking. And I always reference this moment. I think I'm one of the few that does. But in that fight with Nonito Donaire, he got hurt in that second round, way worse than he was hurt in this fight.
Right.
I mean, he was stung. But did he come out? He came out.
He came out with fire.
He came out. So that was the second round. The first round was really competitive. They were slinging. Second round, Donaire caught him. He was hurt. But the round ends. He comes out and he just kept on pushing and getting aggressive. And
he came out with fire and kicked Donaire's ass all over the ring.
And he ended up knocking the guy out. I mean, he ended up stopping Donaire. And you know what? And that was a great win, a great accomplishment. So I'm dumbfounded that he wasn't able to do that same thing here. It wasn't like he was completely, out on his feet or anything like that. And I agree with Gel. I don't want to, I like the back and forth just as much as the next guy. I think those are exciting. Those will go down in, Diego Corrales and Castillo and Ward Gotti and Rios Alvarado. I mean, those are exciting, great fights. But again, I just didn't seem it was at that level. And you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your fans to go out there. And I'm not saying die on your shield, but at least make an effort. And he didn't do that. It's disappointing. And you guys are right, though. Gail said it again. Lomachenko, he was masterful. He put on a great performance, but it's going to be overshadowed by this no mas situation because so many people, and again, I know you apologized at the beginning of the episode. No need to apologize. This is boxing. Everybody thought that it was a 50-50 fight, that, it was hard to pick a winner, that it was going to be competitive. But, I mean, these things happen. We don't control these things. So, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, you're going to get some good fights, you're going to get some bad fights. They can't all be barn burners. But, at the end of the day, Lomachenko did what he had to do. To me, it's a credible win, and it wasn't just a win. It was a very dominant win. Do I put him on the top of my pound-for-pound list like a lot of people are saying? Absolutely not. He hasn't done enough for me in the amount of fights that he's had to do that, but he's definitely in the conversation to be in the top 10.
We're going to talk about pound-for-pound and Lomachenko in the future for both. Coming up, I'll go to you, Daniel, your assessment of what went down because and again, I have to stress this. I don't want to take away for Lomachenko because a lot of people, particularly in the immediate aftermath, on the avenues where I went at, because I not only talked to EJ, I did a live show with Winnie Boxing. A lot of folks were like, "You're ignoring what Lomachenko did. You're ignoring what Lomachenko did." No, I think there is room in the conversation to talk about what Lomachenko did, but you just cannot ignore. You just cannot ignore what we saw from Walters that night, last Saturday night. To do so and to not have some kind of conversation about this would be irresponsible.
It would be, and also it's kind of our nature as a culture, where the first thing we do after something like this happens, we do focus on the negative first.
Because there's no answer. There's no real answer to what happened with him that night. None. And we're trying to figure that out.
And it's not even that. It's even if Walters would have lost on his shield, the first thing we probably would have talked about was Walters lost on his shield, and then giving credit to Lomachenko. This is the way our culture is, unfortunately. But the way it happened. Now, like I said, I watched this fight on EJ's hangout with Hakeem, with Scorsese, who might show up tonight. And I had in the end of round 3, I had Walters up 2-1 because to me, he was landing some body shots. He was landing his right hand. But then what happened in round 4, Lomachenko turned it up a notch.
I mean, when Lomachenko put his hands down and Walters didn't do a damn thing, you knew he was gone.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of instances when that happened. Now, like I said, the main thing that happened to me, and it was one of the reasons why, remember when we spoke last week about this fight, I mentioned it, I thought that Lomachenko's, when it comes to footwork, is leaps and bounds better than Walters. And I figured that eventually it's going to show itself probably due to the ring rust. It showed up in round 1. when I think at nearly the end of the round, Lomachenko turned Walters into a turnstile at one point. And that started happening throughout the fight. And that's the thing that happened. It's one of the where Walters just got taken out of his game. Yes, there were some instances where Lomachenko did leave himself open for a right hand to the body. But you saw, like in the end of the 5th round, I think it was, there was a sequence where Walters, within a span, I think, of 10 seconds, had the right hand open, and he just refused. He just refused to throw it. And that all culminated, obviously, in what happened, in quitting the way he did. And yes, now you can just, like Jacob mentioned, you can discuss the issues of the fact that maybe Top Rank in Warriors boxing didn't work so hard to get him decent fights in the interim. Even though that's, like I said, I've mentioned 1,000 times, that has to do more probably Warriors boxing and their former relationship with Al Heyman. But a lot of things is his own fault. And not to mention the fact that we've seen plenty of pictures of Walters partying, of Walters just having fun. When this is a sport where you have to be ready at all times. Now, granted, yeah, and there's very, very few people that have the discipline of a Bernard Hopkins, who literally lives his life like he's fighting every single day. But it just showed itself. And all the points you could have made about the fact that you didn't get enough fights, that you should have been paid more, all that gets negated with Walters by the fact that he quit. Any argument that he can have, any point that he can make, automatically gets crushed by somebody saying, but you quit. Even Max Kellerman even pointed out, you quit. And now he's got to do a lot to do it. And like, he has to find himself back into the championship picture. Maybe a rematch with Jason Sosa might actually work for him now. But it's going to be a long time now before you can legitimately say Nicholas Walters and have people start to think positive things for you. Even, let's put it this way, even Roberto Duran, who had a hell of a career after his no mas moment against Leonard. What is the first thing, if you mention to casual people, Roberto Duran? No mas. It's the first thing that come out of their mouths. And then maybe the first fight with Leonard. Maybe the fight with Hagler. But the first thing that's going to come to people's mind is no mas. And that's what's going to happen to Nicholas Walters. The first thing people mention is going to be Nicholas Walters is his corner, him and his corner saying no mas.
You're absolutely right.
And the damage is, like Dale mentioned, the damage is mainly insurmountable, especially in an age where you're so accessible now to information. He is going to see that he can't go to, I think Spencer mentioned, like, there's like a big festival, I guess, in Jamaica. They call it the Stage. He can't go there right now. He can't go there anymore. What is he going to do? Like, he has to really, really build from the ground up, and it's going to take years.
Well, it's going to take him some fights on some small shows, because after that, HBO, they're done with him. They're going to give him a boot. Small shows here and there. Eventually seek an opportunity on another network, maybe a PBC, maybe a Showtime. Sosa bout would be nice, but he's going to have to deconstruct. His career was deconstructed with that fight. He has to do a total reconstruction now of his fight career. Get back in the ring maybe as soon as possible, because he doesn't need another layoff. Go ahead, Jacob.
I was going to say, to me, it's even beyond that. He has to do some soul searching and really see, is this what he wants to do for his career? because again, him quit the way that
that's part of the reconstruction.
Well, I mean, if he decides that he doesn't want to do this anymore, then he's not going to be fighting at little shows or reconstructing. He's just done. He's not a fighter. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just saying. I think he really needs to look inside himself and
if he has any kind of pride about him, and if he's any kind of real Jamaican, he can't go out like that. No way.
Well, I would argue that he couldn't have. Nobody saw this coming. You could have put odds in Vegas and gave me 1,000,000 to 1 that he was going to quit, and I don't think anybody would have bet on it.
But this falls into the arrogance that he demonstrated when he thought he was worth, 50-50 with Lomachenko when they first started negotiating this fight. There's no way in hell that was the case. He argued for it. He thought that was his worth. It's not. You taste a little success, and sometimes these guys get a very overinflated sense of what they're worth. So instead, he drags it out for months and months and months, and finally they put the fight together. He doesn't get anywhere near what he was offered in the first place, to make the fight. So you got that problem. Then he gets in there and he realizes, hell no, he wasn't worth it. That's a humiliating experience, and that's going to take your sense of self-worth when you're that arrogant down quite a notch. You're right about the soul-searching part, but if he approaches this with some humility and some reflection on what happened and get some good advice, let's hope. I mean, people do love a redemption story, don't they? And there is a possibility of it, but he has to think long and hard about what that road back is going to be like.
Go ahead, Danny, right quick.
That's it. Let's talk about actually how that road started, because this fight technically should have happened 8 or 9 months ago. Now remember, in February, we were getting inundated, and with Lomachenko Walters themselves confirming the fight. And here comes the situation. Warriors Boxing gets involved, who at the time have a relationship with Al Heyman. And maybe they're the ones that said it when you're worth 50-50. You shouldn't take this deal from Top Rank. If they don't want to give you the money what you're worth, you can always try to go here, go to the PBC. We'll have fights for you. We'll pay you this money. And then lo and behold, Warriors Boxing and Al Heyman have a bad falling out. So now he no longer has a security blanket. Yeah. He had to take this fight at the way they gave it to him. And ultimately, that's what is going to wind up happening, because now he resigned an extension with Top Rank to make this fight. So now he's going to have to be endured. He's probably going to be in Unimas for at least 3 or 4 fights. Not even a chance to get on English speaking network TV. He's going to be in Unimas for a while.
Well, and he's damn lucky he's got that option, that he is bilingual and that there's an audience for him out of Panama and probably Mexico. Imagine a guy who doesn't have that option available. He'd be toast right now. He's at least going to be able to get some opportunities and see what he's got left to offer, see how he fares against some of the journeyman competition, and then he can make his decision.
I think he could still get. He's not going to get a headlining card, but he could still be on the undercard. Maybe not even the actual TV undercard, but maybe even just on the other undercard. Because regardless of everything that's happened, he's still a name. He's still a name, and I don't know if I don't know if he wants to be fed, journeyman, or if he wants to get back in there with somebody and figure out if this is what he wants to do. But I'm not sure that they'll because I don't know how many names does Top Rank really have that they can put on one card. So we got to consider that too.
Oh, that's why I said Unimas. Unimas is their version of Golden Boy's LA Fight Club in a sense.
I see that Scorsese has joined the show. What's going on? Unmute your mic, brother. We're talking Lomachenko and Walters, still trying to wrap our minds around what went down, especially with Walters. I know on the show you was wanting Walters to win the fight badly when we previewed it last week. Do you have any answers for Walters and him quitting like that? Because we don't.
I got strong opinions all the way around it. I'm always gonna side with the warriors of the sport rather than the promoters and people winning, the networks winning. The warriors put their life on the line. They make action for me. I never went to a fight and saw the promoters get in the ring and throw jabs and hooks and be excited about it. As far as I wanted Walters to win, I just try. Like I said, I never going to fight with want to win. I just love to watch fights, and I'm cool with whatever goes down. Um, I just don't think neither one of them could beat the other man with 2 months of training time. It is what it is. They're A-level fighters. You don't get in the ring with Lomachenko with 2 months. If you care about Walters, you don't even put him in there with Lomachenko with 2 months. You don't do it. He pushed that pace on Walters, not only with punches, but a lot of foot movement. And Walters responded pretty good for the first 5 rounds. I thought he lost the rounds, but I still think besides Salido, who beat Lomachenko, he was the best opponent that I seen responding to Lomachenko, period, until that 6th round. I think the legs probably got a little heavy. The layoff kicked in, and we just seen Lomachenko turn it up, and I was begging Walters to quit between the 7th and the 8th round right before he did it. I was like, would you please just quit? Because it's over with. Like, you ain't doing nothing. You're not pressing the action. You don't trust your stamina. I seen so many different things that I was just like, I don't want to watch this no more. It was over. Lomachenko was the better man that night. And I've been gracious to Victor Ortiz and other people who quit. I understand their situations. Look, he was taking a beating. He was taking ass whooping. I made a harsh video based on what the fans were saying. Some fans wanted to see him go out there, fall on his face, and have his daddy scrape him up off the ground. And I'm not that guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, okay, it was over to me. I didn't act, if somebody gonna take a punishment, why don't Bob Arum take some body shots from Walters for not valuing him? You have an undefeated fighter that speaks all these languages. He's pretty exciting when he does interviews, and you fed him up. I tried to be positive about the layoff and be positive about the sport because I felt like I was going on a negative streak. I hated the heavyweight division, and I tried to just ignore this throughout my whole pick. But you gotta tell the truth now. What we saw was one guy was at his peak. Lomachenko is prime or priming. He's getting better. He won this fight in the pocket, in my opinion. I haven't seen him do that. I was impressed with that. I was impressed with his game plan. But that's as far as I can go. I can say I see if I had an opponent in me that I know is not himself, I'm pressing the action. I'm gonna outsmart him. If I say, why is Walters not walking on to me and that's his best game plan, I'm gonna say he probably doesn't trust his stamina. So what should I do? I should turn it up. And Lomachenko did just that. And I thought it was a brilliant, excellent move. He gets credit for the victory. I'm just upset with Tyrant that I don't see other companies feeding up their undefeated fighters, turning one of their best fights into something as pathetic as that turned out to be. And I know we can look at Warriors boxing, all those situations and everything, but from the jump, it should have been 50-50. The numbers come out, and the viewership comes out as 760,000 people average this. That means neither one of these guys are star, and you knew that before you going into it. You should have let them fight for 50-50 on who you was going to promote. The winner, you're going to promote and push. The loser, you got to rebuild. Bob Arum, from the jump, to me, it seemed like he had it set in his mind who he wanted to win, and he took a 50-50 fight from a hardcore fan like myself. And I can't. I'm trying to let it go, but it's still stinging. It don't matter who won or who lost. It's just that this was something that was supposed to be memorable, and now it's just all I'm impressed with is the game planning of Lomachenko and his pocket fighting. That's all that impressed me so far.
Let's focus on Lomachenko and his future. I'll go back to you, Daniel, and then you can follow up, Gail. A lot of talk about him possibly fighting Pacquiao, maybe Terrence Crawford. That's a bad move in my opinion. You don't want that work from Crawford. Pacquiao is a more reasonable option. Also talk about Pacquiao is to a point Jacob made earlier, how he felt that he doesn't have Lomachenko at the top of the pound-for-pound rankings. A lot of people want to put him up there already. I personally agree with Jacob on that. Again, like I said, I was talking to EJ. I was also talking to Wingy. I feel that Lomachenko has more to do before he garners that kind of status. So Lomachenko, he looked terrific. Talent, no doubt. There's some things that he can do in there, which 99% of the fighters, 98% of the fighters can't do. However, let's not jump as talented as he is. Let's not be so quick to put him at a level that he has not earned yet. I hear Pacquiao fight, but for me, moving forward for Lomachenko, I'm gonna keep saying this. I think the lightweight division is an emerging division. Hell, for that matter, I wouldn't mind seeing Lomachenko against a Corrales at 130. Vargas, he would toy with Vargas and have him bleeding from every portion of his body. He may die that night from just bleeding to death. Vargas, they don't want that. I know he mentioned him after the fight. No. Keep Vargas away from Lomachenko. You don't want him seriously injured in that way. But at 35, I think Robert Easter Jr. is a talent. I think Zlatko Kanin is a really good fighter who could pose some problems for Lomachenko possibly. Hand speed of Linares and the skill of Linares, if he's on his game, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. So the future of Vasyl Lomachenko, where do you see him? Where would you like to see him go? First Daniel, and then you, Gail.
I actually want Francisco Vargas.
No, bad move.
No. Because of the reason you have it. Because Francisco Vargas, luckily, because he's a Mexican Olympian, does understand that he cannot box a boxer. He has to make it a war, and he will do that. And the one thing I have not seen Lomachenko do, and that Orlando Salido showed pretty well, is if you make him go to war, he may not respond so well. He responds well to making foot movements and setting up his punches with his footwork. He excels at outboxing you. I have yet seen somebody that he can legitimately outbrawl. And Francisco Vargas will launch that on him. Corrales will launch that on him. Hell, Jason Sosa would unleash that on him. I wouldn't mind seeing Sosa versus Lomachenko, but obviously they're gonna try to see how they can do 130. The Pacquiao fight, it's not gonna happen. Mainly because of the fact that he's already stated I'm only gonna do lightweight, and Freddie Roach hasn't said about going down to lightweight. He just said going down to 140.
We all know Aaron runs that. So if Aaron really wants that fight and can get Pacquiao below 140, have them catch it fight at a catch weight, it would happen.
No, I think Aaron's ultimate game plan is to feed Pacquiao to Crawford. Because one of the things that Scorsese is right is, even though Lomachenko's an extreme talent, and by the way, one of the reasons a lot of people like myself don't really have him like a number one pound for pound. Number one, recognize your record for the World Series of Boxing, because you're not really 7-1. You're 14-1. Actually, no, you're 13-1. Actually, 14 or 13-1. No, 14-1. So you won your title about the same time Alexander Usyk did, which is not a bad feat. Not a bad feat at all. But there's that part. But I wouldn't mind having him a rematch with Salido. Try to avenge that loss. Try to do what Gary Russell Jr. is trying to do to him. And try to avenge that loss. And then ultimately, you're eventually most likely going to move to lightweight. And most likely then you're going to go see most likely Felix Verdejo.
He beat Verdejo.
Oh no, he even said it. Well, that's the part thing he then said. He beat him in the amateurs, but he even said he acknowledges, I beat a baby then. He said, I beat a baby.
He'd still beat him.
He'll beat him now, like with the surgery, but that's probably what Top Rank has in line with him going into it. And ultimately, if Pacquiao isn't fully destroyed by being fed to Crawford, which is probably what Aaron wants, then send him to Lomachenko. Try to build up your stars that way. Do the same. Do with them what Oscar did to both Floyd and Manny.
Gail, and then you Scorsese, and finally Jacob. The future for Lomachenko, where you see him going?
Well, he's got a variety of options, although I am in complete agreement with you. Terrence Crawford should not be one of them.
I mean, did you see that IG post of Crawford at weighing 147?
Yeah, that's just
he's gonna be fighting welterweight inside of a year. No way.
Yeah, not a chance. I am also a big fan. You know, if you're systematic and you're in the game for good, and you want to be there for a long time, clean out your division. Clean out your own division. So who have we got sitting there at 130 who've got belts? Okay, obviously you got Lomachenko with one. Pedraza has the IBF belt. Vargas is a WBC belt. I'm holding the damn thing in my photo, as a matter of fact. That's Vargas's belt. It is. And then you have Sosa, and you also have Jezreel Corrales as the super champion in the WBA. Let Lomachenko go after those guys in whatever order. I'll tell you, I heard this suggestion, and I absolutely love this idea. You have kind of a mini tournament, just like we did with DeGale and Jack and, all those guys. So you set up a double header, and you have a Salido-Lomachenko rematch, and you have a Mura-Vargas rematch, and the two winners face off. And I guarantee you're going to end up with Lomachenko and Vargas. But let him fight some other bangers in that division first. I'm not sure Sosa is I think Sosa should and Lomachenko should maybe be the ultimate matchup. Depending on where Pedraza goes and what his options are, there's another possibility. But let him get through some of those guys first. That's the right thing to do. That's the right process. And I like a guy being able to say he consolidated the division. There's too many damn belts anyway. And then he can think about some of the guys right above him. And how many of us would like to see him clean Flanagan's clock?
Comment here in the live show chat. If this bout could ever be made, now I put the big emphasis on if, Lomachenko, Mikey Garcia at 135.
You know what? The reason I like that is because of the marketability of it. A lot of people, whether you're a lover or a hater of Mikey Garcia, he's got pretty good weight behind him. It seems that Bob Arum and Al Heyman are able to work together. Okay, that's a good thing. And I think that would be a damn good fight. I'd be fine with that. And they're both, at this point, they're both out of Oxnard. It's sort of the Battle of Oxnard. Wouldn't that be interesting?
You got to wait for his next fight, though. He's fighting in, was it January 28th on the undercard of Leo Santa Cruz?
He's fighting Zlatan Kanin.
Yeah.
So, and that's going to be, that might not be a walkthrough fight, though.
Which is a low key, really, really good fight.
Exactly. So let's say, whoever is the winner there, which is not, you're right, it's not a given that it's Garcia. And, a fight with Garcia doesn't have to happen next. Like I say, let him clean out 130 or at least consolidate 130. There's plenty of activity there for him and some names that boxing fans love to go see from a sheer entertainment point of view. And the other nice thing about that is it would hopefully clean out any, sort of spatter of damage onto Lomachenko from this crummy fight. because there are those that will partially blame him for it being, boring. So to get him into an action-oriented fight would be a smart thing to do. It really would. And let him step up. He has plenty of time. He's only had 8 fights. I mean, he's a phenom, but he's only had 8 fights. Give him some more fights at 130, unless he can't make weight suddenly for some reason, which that's not going to happen. And then the lightweights and the super lightweights are all going to be there waiting for him. They're not going anywhere. They might sort themselves out in the meantime a little differently, but they're all going to be there.
Scorsese and then Jacob, where do you see Lomachenko going and your response to all this, the exceedingly high praise of Lomachenko in the aftermath of this Walters bout?
I agree with what she just said about the last part about him taking a little time and seeing the settings around him and letting them fall where they fall. But I don't care about a Crawford mention. I don't care about a Pacquiao mention. That's promotion. I don't think those fights will happen. That's just get his name out there to some of those casual fans that or more than casual fans that might not know it and say, oh, this is that guy. And he is a great talent. There's no doubt about it. And Daniel made a good point. I want to see him go backwards. I want to see what prime Lomachenko brings to the table. To me, he goes forward great. He stands in the pocket great. His defense of the jab, he gets to the side of the jab great. He does everything great so far. Now I want to see, can he make that adjustment and go backwards? And I want to say, damn, I'm watching a hell of a fighter. I don't have no problem saying it. I want to say that about these fighters. I want to see improvement. And I don't know if Vargas is the guy to do that. Me and Jacob went back and forth. Daniel went back and forth on this before. I don't know if Vargas might try to end up boxing the boxer. He seems to think that Vargas.
I just don't see it, because while Vargas could pressure him, he doesn't attack in the way that could cause Lomachenko to get in an all-out, to force him in an all-out firefight and just be as physical as Salido. Plus, he's way more hittable than Salido is.
I don't even know if it needs to be a war. I just need to see somebody push him with a jab. Go push him with a jab. Throw your shots, making him go backwards. A war would be nice, and it would, look more like the Salido fight until he's adjusted to that more.
I got one. Excuse me for interrupting. Fantasy bout, Scorsese. Lomachenko, Bartholomew. Should Bartholomew stay at 35?
Well, he's at 40. I'm not gonna push Loma up. Bartholomew's he's making home at 40. He put a picture out today.
I mean, just for one fight, have him come back down.
He got some guns on him at 40. He got some guns on him at 40.
I'm just saying, just for one, he just hold off for one fight and say, "I'll fight this dude."
It'd be a damn good one. It'd be a damn good one.
It would be a good one. But then, but Mike, in that case, then give him Rigondeaux.
No, I don't want to see that. I don't want. You know what? I don't want to see this year layoff shit no more. Lomachenko's too good for that. Rigo's a great fighter, but this dude is. You don't do that, and he's coming up in weight too. He better learn something. I know he talks shit on Twitter, but Rigo, you better get your ass in that ring before you fuck with Lomachenko. I'm telling you now, that dude can fight. He's not gonna see somebody that's 35 years old, smaller than him, and say, man, this dude can hang with me. He ain't been in the ring. You might not be able to hang with him if you've been in the ring. That's just the truth. You both got pedigree. Great big fighters beat small great fighters. That's the saying. That's how it goes. Might be a little different than how I said it. I know it is, but that's pretty much the idiom of that a great big fighter is gonna put them hands on a small guy. And Lomo, he deserves, if he can clean out 130, that's one of the best divisions in boxing to me. It's young. People are you got Vargas, a champion. You got Sosa making waves. You got Corrales just knocked out the guy that was the top guy for a while. It's there. You can fight a Fortuna. You can fight all these guys. I don't think they need to rush him up in weight. Let him make where he comfortable. Some of them 26s might come up to 30. He can beat up on them if he's capable of doing it. I like where he at. I'm fine with him getting all those belts if it's possible. It's just like HBO has a flock of people for him to fight, but he did lose the one guy. If Salido comes calling and asking for money. He put more asses in the seats than you did in your last fight. He did more views than you did in your last fight, and he got a win over you. Pay that man. Get your victory over him if you're capable. If not, I gotta say, Bob Arum keeping the training wheels on you, because it's 3 times in a row you've been in a fight with Gary Russell you wasn't even supposed to be in. You weren't supposed to be there. You was in a fight. You was in a fight with the Puerto Rican. I can't think of his name right now. Rocky Martinez. That he had just robbed his title to keep it around his waist, and could be training wheels there. That's all I'm saying.
Quick question, Miguel, before I go to Jacob. Would Arum? Well, no. Would they dream of putting Oscar Valdez in there with the Loma?
Oh, hell no. No. Arum is put a lot of eggs in the Valdez
Yeah, I was asking, would Arum dream of doing, would even think about doing that?
No. And in a different way than with Crawford, because Valdez gets the all-important Latino fan base on both sides of the border. In a way that, unfortunately, Terrence Crawford doesn't. So from a money standpoint, Valdez is bankable in a way that's much different from Crawford. So yeah, Arum is not going to screw with that. Not a chance. And you know what? From a business standpoint, if I'm him, I do exactly the same thing. Maybe way down the road, but not now.
I could see it. I could see it if he loses badly to Jojo Diaz.
Yeah, but you know what? As we've just been talking here for the last 15, 20 minutes, there are so many other good options for Lomachenko that are legitimate options that fans will enjoy, that are good tests for him, that don't involve risking other guys who can make these promoters money. And we need these guys to stay afloat from a business perspective. If they go out of business, we as fans go out right with them. So we need to keep that in mind.
Let's get Jacob's thoughts on this and bring him into this conversation. We've been talking a while now about the future for Loma. It kind of started during your initial breakdown of the fight when you mentioned that in your mind you didn't have Lomachenko amongst your top pound-for-pound fighters. Expound on that and talk about his future.
Yeah, I mean, on my list, and obviously I'm going to update it after the end of this quarter here, Lomachenko is on my list, but he's number 10. I just don't feel that he's earned the number 1 spot. He hasn't had enough fights, or let's say professional fights. He's had a lot of amateur fights, but not enough professional fights, in my opinion, and enough, big wins to say that he's the number 1 pound for pound. Does he have potential to be number 1 pound for pound? Yes, but you need to go out there and do the work and earn it, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. And I think, I can't remember who said it before, but I think maybe it was Daniel, that we are quick, or maybe it was you, Michael, we are quick to kind of anoint the next thing after just one performance. And I think it's a mistake. You got to look at it from an aspect of what have they done in the time frame, that whatever your criteria of time frame is, and who have they beaten and how have they beaten them. So all those things have to be taken in consideration for a pound for pound list. And that, again, in my opinion. As far as what's next for Lomachenko, I mean, I would like to see him fight Salido. And the reason is that, Salido, I think, was his second fight. And I think, that what it taught him, I think he learned a lot from that fight. I think it taught him that there's a difference between amateur and there's a difference between professional. And I think the fight, if he has a fight with Salido, I think it turns out differently. I think he'll be more ready for the kind of rough tactics and be able to use his superior footwork and whatnot to try to avoid that as much as possible. And again, I keep on saying this. I don't think Lomachenko, I think he has pretty decent power. I think it's not knockout power like in one shot, like he did with Rocky Martinez, which was a great combo. But he has decent power where if he gets his hands on you, in a combination or succession of combinations, then you're going to get hurt and you're going to go down. So I would like to see the Salido fight. For him, though, I think the Vargas fight would be a smart fight because I think that's a very winnable fight for him. Vargas is a great fighter, but I just think that he, in my opinion, is too slow. And if Lomachenko is not there to hit, and he's gonna not come in a come forward style, then I think that Vargas is gonna have a tough time. And the Vargas Mira fight, he was hurt, and I thought he was gonna be done. I think it was in that 6th round, but he was able to muster it up and come back, and kudos to him. I mean, he's a warrior, man. But again, to get the belt and to be able to kind of clean out the division, I think that's the most winnable fight. I agree on the Crawford. I don't think he should even consider that. I think I don't even know why they're even bringing it up. That as much as it is intriguing, I just think that's a really dangerous fight.
To Scorsese's point, just to bring interest to casual fans, because he's kind of known now, Crawford, to casual guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how that serves Top Rank. They got two, Scorsese made a good point. Lomachenko isn't a star. He's not putting butts in seat. Crawford is to a level in some respects, but if you're gonna feed someone to Lomachenko or Crawford, it's got to be one of your guys that's on his way out, not two up and comers that you want to tarnish their beginning of their legacy or their name. I just don't think that's a smart business move to do.
We mentioned in this discussion about the future of Lomachenko and what could be possible what could be possible for him in terms of upcoming fights. We mentioned the lightweight division. Well, a fighter in that lightweight crop we didn't mention was one of Daniel's favorite fighters, Terry Flanagan, who fought over the weekend as well, defeating Orlando Cruz, 8th round stoppage. Fight went pretty much the way I thought it would. Look, Cruz is essentially a featherweight / junior lightweight. He got the shot. I don't know how much he really deserved the shot. Probably didn't deserve it really, but he got the shot. Was fighting for a cause that was really bigger than him, the fighter. For those who already know, Orlando Cruz is a homosexual. He is gay. He was fighting for that, hoping to become the first, at least out of the closet, put it that way, homosexual champion. He failed fighting for the gay community. Flanagan, too big, too strong for Cruz, eventually wore him down and stopped him, dropped him twice in the 8th round. And the ref stepped in and said enough was enough. Since he is one of your favorite fighters, Daniel, I'll go to you. In this lightweight landscape, since we're talking Lomachenko, since we're talking other fighters at 135, where does he fit into the mix?
He's still the weakest link. He'll still be the weakest link because you just mentioned it. Orlando Cruz really is, at best, just one division above his station technically in this fight. But I understand what Frank Warren tried to do, try to build up animosity with the Puerto Rican audience for the fight that Flanagan is going to have with Felix Verdejo, which is now mandated by the WBO. He's still the weakest link because if you put him with Anthony Crawler, I'm going to say Crawler's going to win. If you put him with Jorge Linares is going to dance circles around him. Sadichanin, beat the crap out of him. Shakakov, beat the crap out of him. Comey, beat the crap out of him. Easter, beat the crap out of him and do it with conviction. And Mikey Garcia will do the same, will pretty much just toy with him. Because Mikey Garcia, in the way, he's fighting his own body, kind of doing what Canelo's doing with the whole 154, 160 deal. He's doing the same thing between lightweight and 140 pounds. That man, Mikey Garcia, belongs at 140 pounds. But he feels he can make lightweight. So we can do that for our landscape. But Terry Flanagan, it does, like I say, his next fight, he's already agreed, is going to be Felix Verdejo. We don't know how far along Verdejo's rehab is from that motorcycle accident that they said was pretty bad. But the fight's technically now going to be 4 months away because Top Rank wants this fight to be the headliner for the actual headline, which is going to be Michael Conlan's debut on St. Patrick's Day weekend in the Garden.
Gail, Daniel Scorsese, your thoughts on Terry Flanagan and where does he fit in this picture?
I really have very little to add to what Daniel said. He's absolutely right on every level. I would have liked to see Cruz be a little more competitive. No, I don't think he really had earned the shot, but it was an interesting matchup, and there was some social intrigue to it. And I think that made it, at least worth watching. But he just seemed overwhelmed. I think he was in over his head. But Flanagan needs to step up in competition. He's fought all on home soil. He hasn't really faced anyone very tough at all, considering the talent in the division. And he better watch Lomachenko coming up like a freight train behind him if the scenario we just described comes to pass, which I'd love to see.
Jacob Scorsese. Thoughts on Terry Flanagan?
Besides him being Daniel's favorite fighter, I mean, I agree. He's the weak link there, but I think he might win this Verdejo fight because I've never been that too high on Verdejo. I know the Puerto Ricans want the next Tito Trinidad, but just because you want it doesn't make it so. And plus the accident you have, it was really bad, and sometimes you don't come back from that, in good shape. So I hope he makes the right decision and doesn't try to force that too quickly. But yeah, I mean, he's got to. I want everybody to step it up. I mean, I want the best to fight the best all the time. But again, this is boxing and the business, and we don't always get what we want. Every year I release a top 10 list of fights that I want, and every year I maybe get one or two of those. So, well, we'll see.
Any thoughts on Flanagan, Scorsese, or just like move on?
I kind of gotta give him some credit. This dude got probably he got way less than a 50% knockout ratio, and he's still undefeated. And when he fought in his title fight, he fought a guy that we don't really know is chinny. Matter of fact, you can call Diego Magdaleno pretty tough. He got knocked down in the 4th round with Martinez, got his butt up. He finished the fight. The last time I seen him in the ring, I think he had some cuts over his eyes early in the fight. Finished the fight. Magdaleno got in there with Flanagan, and he was out in 2 rounds. I think he fought Derry Matthews after that, and he probably took him a little lightly. Like, I'm the champion. This dude's not gonna be able to do nothing with me.
I'm not buying that. It was a big time grudge match. I'm not buying that.
Yeah, but still, though, Derry coming in there with damn near 10 losses. You undefeated. You like, I can probably take this clown easy. You even if you hate a guy, you call him a clown and say, it's gonna be nothing. But I mean, I give him a shot against whoever he fight up there. He crafty. He know the sport. He technical. You don't win all those fights without power, without doing a little bit of something right. But not a Lomachenko. He won't fight him because Lomachenko said he won't go to the UK. I saw that. And it's probably the best move to go to the UK because they making money over there. They selling fights over there. So maybe Verdejo has to go over there. He might. You don't want to see Verdejo on the foreign soil this young. Not gonna beat that man. And if he do, he pretty damn good. But I respect Flanagan. It was a good performance. He beat up on the smaller man. Some of the banter on Twitter from some of the UK fools was crazy. One of the fighters put, if I lost to a guy like Cruz, my mates would give it to me for the rest of my life. So Terry better step it up. And I'm like, dude, the fans basically told him, like, yeah, you better delete that, bro. So it was, it was more intrigue on Twitter than it was the fight. But this man put on the beating, though. He was beating the mess out of the old boy.
On the undercard of this, well, no, it wasn't on the undercard. Also, I got to mention, for anybody who saw it, I passed this fight out, talking women's boxing here, in the aftermath of the debut of Claressa Shields. The lady who a lot of folks had considered the top fighter, amateur in the world, prior to Claressa Shields, before was Katie Taylor, who won 5 world championships in a row. Was on a serious roll until she was upset. Well, she really had a bad 2016 amateur-wise because she had lost a bout or two before the Olympics, but she lost the Olympics by way of huge upset. Well, she's still a name. Signed with Matchroom, made her debut Saturday in London, fought a lady by the name of Kopinska, stopped her in 3 rounds. With anybody who saw the fight, any comments, please?
Oh yeah, she's impressive. That hand speed, them combinations, having that girl on them ropes, that was impressive. I was writing on there. I made a funny tweet. I thought it was funny. I said, in quotations, she whoop all our ass, and I said the sayer of the quotations was anybody with a penis. So basically, she was beating the hell out of this woman. And it was impressive. I mean, that was on Sky, and then I switched to a Box Nation stream. I'll watch her fight again. Yeah, she was going for it.
Yeah, her debut was impressive. She's got power. She's got speed. And if she had a penis, she'd be making a hell of a lot of money because she is really fan-friendly. I love this critical mass that seems to be happening in women's boxing. You know, we've all wondered, well, who's going to be the breakout star? Who is going to be our Ronda Rousey for boxing? I'm starting to think, no, there isn't going to be just one. It's going to be a wave. And now's the time because you've got fighters on various continents at various weight divisions of various backgrounds who are all impressing, who are all entertaining. A lot of people thought that certainly of the undercard of Ward Kovalev, that the Shields Cruz fight was by far the more entertaining and the most interesting to watch.
It helped save that undercard.
It really did. And then you have Katie Taylor come out and absolutely impress. She did exactly what every fighter dreams of doing in their first professional fight. Let's face it. And then you've got the veteran who's finally making a name for herself and now has K2 behind her, is Cecilia Brácas. So you've got a lot of really talented young women fighters, Latino women in Southern California. Mexico has got some super impressive women. The minimum weight champion out of Mexico, if you've never seen her, and of course now I'm going to have to think of what her name is, that she recently fought not too long ago, and if you were in the right place, you could see her on Mexican television. Annabelle Ortiz. I had to think about that. She's out of Mexico City. Annabelle Ortiz has a body attack like Gennady Golovkin. It's insane. I've never seen a woman do that kind of body work. So I think all of them added together is perhaps going to provide that breakout moment. And Heather Hardy. I can't forget Heather Hardy.
And the good thing,
great performance on the Spence undercard.
The good thing for Katie Taylor, unlike Claressa Shields, she's in a division where there's a lot of competition around her. My concern with Claressa Shields, outside the champion, there's not that many good fighters in and around her division, middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight range. You can't say that about Katie Taylor. In and around her division, junior lightweight, even up to welterweight if she chose to move up in weight. There's talent there. There's competition there for her to fight and to make good money.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The women have you know, there are just less of them. So, you know, they have less options, and they find themselves in the position a lot of times of having to move frequently between divisions to get fights. So, you know, you have them moving from, you know, the few that are in the upper weight divisions, you know, end up moving back and forth from middleweight to super middleweight to, you know, back and forth. Not the best thing to do, but hey, if it means you're going to get fights, you know, you got to do it. One thing I would like to see, though, it is time for the women to go to 3-minute rounds. It absolutely is. There's no reason they shouldn't be. It would produce very different fights. The Shields fight is a great example. She, as tough as Franchon Cruz turned out to be, she did nail her several times, but it was at that, you know, middle. Well, it was at the end point of a 2-minute round, where it would have been in the middle of a round if it was the length of a men's professional round, and she would have had a shot at getting her out of there. It is really tough to do enough damage and knock someone out when you know you've only got 2 minutes, which is another reason why you see fewer knockouts in the women's boxing ranks. So, you know, plus the game isn't different for women in a lot of other sports, and I think of tennis, you know, for one. Let's let the women go 3 minutes. Come on.
I mean, I wouldn't mind in another year or so to see if they can bring the Argentinian champion Marcos over to fight Taylor. I wouldn't mind seeing them set up a possible bout between a Taylor and a Delphine Pearson or a Layla McCarter. Serrano as well. I wouldn't mind if she would step up to fight the Argentinian champion at 140, or what's the lady at featherweight? I can't remember her name right now. Canadian lady who I think has a belt at 120 at featherweight. I wouldn't mind that fight either. So again, there are options out there for her.
Oh, geez. Her name escapes my tongue right now, but geez, that would be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, indeed. Let's move on. Talk some news here. I hadn't heard of this. I didn't know the numbers of Ward Kovalev until now. I go to you, Scorsese. Apparently, the numbers were 170K pay-per-view buys. Were you expecting that? A little disappointed? Yeah, ouch indeed. Did you expect a little more, given how good the fight was, given the quality of the fight? For me, when you have numbers that low, to me that says this rematch it would probably be better off being on HBO.
There's a lot of angles you can take on this. I'll take the funny one. They should have fought my man Superman, man. Should have had that.
Oh man, come on.
I mean, Kovalev should have took that $5 million first, bro. Like I would be like literally firing Kathy Duva as we speak, trying my hardest. Like, you made me miss out on $5 million to lose my title for $2 million, no pay-per-view upside, and the challenger got $3 million more than me. I mean, as far as the numbers, knew it wasn't gonna do very many. Andre Ward he's a good fighter. Sergey Kovalev, a good fighter. But truth be told, they sort of B-side fighters. Andre Ward refuses to be one. Kovalev accepts the fact I'm a B-side. He was B-side to Pascal, B-side to Hopkins. He accepts it. Andre Ward refuses to say I'm gonna be somebody's B-side, but it is what it is. Two B-side fighters came together. They put on they two great fighters, but they just don't sell, man. It is what it is. Boxing's at that point. Canelo's the man. They're not. That's all it is.
Gail?
It's, Kathy Duva. I don't think you blame Kathy on this one. Kathy Duva tried to reset expectations all along about what the pay-per-view numbers were going to do, even up right ahead of the fight during fight week with the media, pointing out, listen, it's the first pay-per-view for both of them. Even Manny Pacquiao didn't start out with big pay-per-view numbers, so give him a chance to grow. This is a starter. Don't expect miracles here, ladies and gentlemen. But, she had a really tough time because essentially the promotion from the tickets and pay-per-view end, the sales end, was all left to her. Rock Nation did not really participate. And bless him, Andre Ward, this isn't something he gravitates to. He does exactly what's required of him. He knows what he needs to do, but he's not exactly chomping at the bit to do a lot extra. And when you only have one side doing the heavy lifting, it makes it that much more difficult. In Rock Nation's defense, this isn't the sweet spot of their business model. And if they think that they can impose the same model they use for ticket sales for music artists onto boxing, it doesn't work that way. So, a lot of factors kind of reached critical mass for this. Not the greatest. And it's a shame because it was a fight we wanted to see made. It was a good matchup. We're still talking about the actual outcome, but boy, the business model behind it was rough, just plain rough. And I happen to agree. I think the better fight would have been Stevenson for a lot of reasons.
You got some support there, Scorsese. There you go.
He and I think so much alike, and it should scare the shit out of both of us. But
Gail basically said the fight should have been with Stevenson as well.
I couldn't get to my unmute button fast. Boom.
Yeah,
I was going to say boom. Yeah, you're right.
From a storyline and a sales standpoint and a cooperation standpoint, oh yeah, it would have made both sides a whole lot more money, and there's a lot more drama involved. Ward and Kovalev did not trash talk each other. It was very mild. And, I'm not saying you need that to set up a fight, but when you do have it and it can add fuel to the fire, you're going to make a little more money. And there's some real serious dislike here between the two camps, between their supporters, for very good reason. Yep, absolutely. There's rancor on both sides, and they need to settle it. They really do need to settle it. It's still the fight I'd like to see next for Kovalev. What I do think would be interesting is seeing Ward and Stevenson go at it. And if there was any possibility that Stevenson would beat him, then the stakes for a Kovalev-Stevenson fight are extremely high. But I do think it needs to be the other way around for a lot of practical reasons. And that's a great next fight.
Just to jump in on that, she said Kovalev next. If he thought he was Pascal's B-side and B-Hop's B-side, if he coming in a belt with no titles now, he better get ready to take it harsh. I just don't think nobody going to give him 60-40. I think he'll take it. He that kind of guy, but he just got to. He took a raw deal to take $2 million to take a loss. Whew, that's tough.
I agree with you, but a smaller percentage of a way higher gate and take overall, he could still make more money. Even a lower percentage. I'd rather have 25% of a much bigger number than 50% of what we just saw.
Agree.
Come on.
Right.
Your thoughts on this, Jacob? Quickly.
Scorsese, we still need to have our showdown because I know you're rolling with Stevenson and whatnot. But what I can say, I don't think the whole B-side thing. You know what? In my opinion, maybe Kovalev is more interested in, not so much in the money, but the legacy and challenging himself. So he's willing to accept B-side money. And at the end of the day, though, I think you guys already mentioned this, the fight that's going to make either side the most money is an Adonis Stevenson versus a Kovalev fight. If Stevenson's about money and he wants to make a bunch of money, that's the fight that's going to make him the most money. Gail hit on a good point. Stevenson hasn't been getting paid a bunch of money for his last few fights, but he gets a percentage of that gate in that pay-per-view or that Canadian whatever kind of pay-per-view. So they end up making, I think they end up he made like $750,000 for a fight. It was either last fight or 2 fights ago, but he was gonna be in line to make $2 million total because of the gate, the percentage of the gate, and the TV thing. So she's right on the money with that.
I'm gonna leave you out of this discussion, Daniel, because I want to go into kind of a nerdy, wonky kind of subject matter we're going to here, but it's very, very serious at the same time. For those who don't know who Nick Blackwell is a fighter who was forced to retire due to injuries suffered against Chris Eubank, where he was put into an induced coma. Well, it's now come to light that Blackwell is undergoing brain surgery that's going to happen, I believe, in January. The emergency procedure is due to swelling following an unsanctioned sparring session. Very serious news here. I want to focus on this because of the fact unsanctioned sparring session. This is something you do not do, given the injuries that he suffered, hematoma, following the sparring session happened November 22nd, I should add. But you're not allowed into a ring following this kind of a bout. As context, former challenger Kid Hakeem fought the fight of the year in 1991 against Robert Quiroga. He was forced out of the country because of some illegal things that he was doing, dealing drugs, I believe. But he passed away in 1994 as a result of an unsanctioned sparring session in his home country of Nigeria. That's the seriousness of this issue we're here with Blackwell. So I'm gonna give the mic to you and give some time to talk about this, what I consider a very, very serious situation in the British border control and the folks behind Blackwell. This is not good. This is not good one bit.
No, it's not. It is nowhere near good. Because let's face the facts. Okay, you get beat up so badly that the trainer of your opponent is ordering his fighter attack the body because you're gonna kill this. You're going to do severe damage to this man if you hit him in the head.
That's right. And for context, Blackwell was injured in the fight with Chris Eubank Jr. Eubank Sr., who was working the corner, 2, 3, 4 rounds before the fight was ended. You could hear him in the corner telling his son, "I don't know why they're letting this fight continue. Just focus on body shots. Just focus on body shots."
Yep. And first of all, you go back into a sparring fight. That's one thing. But you go back to a sparring match with the very man that put you in the hospital in the first place.
Right.
And now you're in the hospital again. First of all, I know there's like when we see little kids running around and we say, "Where are the parents? Where are the parents?" Where was Nick Blackwell's team saying, "You know what? That man put you in a coma last time. Maybe it's not such a good idea." Where was the British border control? Because obviously somewhere along the line, there has to be observers in sparring matches from the border control in Britain. I don't know if that's the case in Britain because it is British law. We have to know, but wouldn't Blackwell have to have cleared some kind of medical test to see if it's even allowed to spar? Because as far as I know, he didn't. And first of all, and then you got to get some blame to Eubanks. You know you hurt this man. You know you just made his life will never be the same because of you. And you said yes to a sparring match. You know what you did to the man. I know Eubanks is like trying to get ready for some type of fight, but that's just a level of carelessness on Eubanks' team as well. There's nobody that is blameless here. Like Blackwell, yes, you're blamed because you keep thinking you can go out of the ring. Remember, you go back into the ring without being medically tested. Hell, this week we had a guy, Isaiah Austin, in the NBA, just finally be cleared to play basketball after having a heart condition. You have not even been, 4 months out of the ring? 4 or 5 months? And you go back into a sparring session against the guy in Eubanks who, because he's not getting fights right now, apparently he literally is trying to beg Anthony Joshua to get on Eddie Hearn's good side.
You hold on. You said Eubanks did this to him again?
Yes.
Oh fuck! No, I'm muting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how fucked up it is. I'm like, yes, we know the Eubanks family is a couple.
At least according to reports I've read, Scorsese, it was a sparring session with the Eubanks Jr. from what I've read.
And that's the thing. We understand the Eubanks family's a bit on the loony side, but this is too loony even for them. But they did it anyway.
I mean, put a gun to his head. Throw him in the garbage incinerator. What the hell is wrong with Eubanks Jr., man? Like, what is wrong with this dude?
But that's the thing. He's only part of the blame. Where was Team Blackwell saying?
I'm just saying from what I've heard, it was with Eubanks Jr. I hadn't read anything.
Let's hope it was him.
The contrary, but still, the bottom line is he's in there sparring right after he was induced into induced coma because of hematoma, which is bleeding of the brain and swelling of the brain for folks who do not know.
Yep.
I hope it was.
No, that's right.
Yeah, I hope it was Eubanks Jr. I cannot lie to you.
Apparently, according to EJ, who was the first person to report it to us, it was Eubanks. So EJ's a pretty reliable source when it comes to certain things in the UK. So I'm gonna take his word for it. But where was Team Blackwell? Where was Blackwell's trainer? The old team saying.
Well, apparently from also what I've read, the trainer of Blackwell, he was unaware of this.
How do you not keep up with the guy? How did he let him? First of all, he probably is not in nowhere near condition to be functioning in a level of society after that vicious of a beating, because hematoma is not a joke. So you just let him slip out of the blue, and guess what? Now he's going to be worse. Let's
open up the conversation for everybody here to get your thoughts on this. I mean, this is disturbing is not a strong enough word to describe the story. Well, anybody who want to chime in, please do.
It was unconscionable, and whatever the truth of the matter is and how this came about, somebody needs to be sanctioned for this. Somebody needs to be punished over it. These guys are putting their lives in their hand for our entertainment. And however it came about, whoever's bad decisions it was, including the fighter himself, somebody needed to protect him from himself. That is in large part why a lot of the people around them are there. And this cannot be brushed aside, overlooked, none of that. And it not only does long-term damage to the individual involved, it does long-term damage to the sport. And the critics of this sport who want to see it end point to things like this. And rightfully so. So if we can't control this, we're in a world of hurt.
Jacob, Scorsese, you still want to stay mute on this?
I'm sorry, guys. I'm actually at work, so I stepped away for a second.
We're talking about the situation with Nick Blackwell where he took part in an unsanctioned sparring session. Reportedly, it's been reported, I know EJ Boxing Live, past guest of the show, he's reporting that, and others reporting that it was against Chris Eubank Jr., the guy, same Chris Eubank Jr., who injured him, basically caused his career to end. And we're basically talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the rumor, I hope it's not true, but I would hope that his team and even himself would not take that kind of risk. But unfortunately, like I've said on many shows, a lot of these boxers, they don't know when to not do things anymore, whether it's quitting or, just making kind of some dumb decisions like that. I mean, I don't know if this guy's trying to make himself permanently damaged.
Well, he has to have another surgery in January as a result.
I mean, I don't know. That's crazy. I don't even know what to say to that. I mean, again, I would hope that his team around him would have some common sense and say, hey, we just went through a pretty serious issue. Why are we doing this? Especially against the guy that put him there, not on purpose. I mean, during that fight, I know that they were telling him to kind of lay off. But I don't know, man. That's crazy. But I mean, I don't control these guys, so it's unfortunate. And I think I heard Gail say at the end, it is a black eye in the sport because the brutality of it, as much as I like it, I don't want anybody to get seriously hurt or die. And those critics are quick to jump on anybody that gets seriously hurt and to put boxing's name like kind of through the mud and criticize it. So
Scorsese, you so disgusted that you want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Understood. I guess we want to add a little bit of fun, if you can add a little bit of fun, and talk about the David Haye, Tony Bellew press conference. Wild. Haye threw some punches at folks. To me, I look at this and I say, Haye getting into a fight with Bellew and others, that's a good thing because from what I've seen, he can't out-talk Bellew. No doubt about it. Bellew is just killing the trash talk game right now. So any comments on this press conference that took place earlier this week?
All that was missing was a Batman costume. That's all I'm going to say. What is it about British boxing? I mean, amazing.
Scorsese, Daniel?
I was trying to hear the royal words back and forth at the thing, and I couldn't find the best feed to do it. They were going off. They were snapping. Was nothing controlled about it at no point in time, and I like that. I don't like control and shit in boxing. I want to see ignorance. Tony Bellew might be on the gifted side of the Superman Stevenson curse, but I'm not gonna go into that. But you can't throw the first stone and then point the finger at the person that returns fire. He pushed the man and he got chin checked. And he said, what, there's no need in swinging punches? Yeah, that's what happens when you put your hands on people. I know he got in your face. Just stay there and take it and get some good photos. Nope. Pushed him. He got stole on. And I'm on Tony Bellew's side here when this fight come around. I want to say, hey, this dude overachieved. And I want to talk about the Superman Stevenson curse, the gifted side when it's over.
Man, look, I see that fight with Stevenson. That's why I'm not picking Bellew, but go on. Daniel?
Okay, I'm going to jump to Scorsese's point. Okay, yeah, he pushed you, but why are you trying to anger the man that is apparently the king of punching people at press events? Think about it. David Haye has one of the most famous pictures within the last, I think, 20 years of punching somebody clear on the chin in the press event. Why do that? Now, granted, yeah, you beat the crap out of him when it came to talking smack. We understood that. But it was shameless in a sense. There's something in that water in the UK. Like it just makes you a little bit more rowdy for some reason. But David Haye may have something other thing to look into that I mentioned to you, because while this fight's gonna make him money, it could potentially cost him a world title.
Oh, because the mandate for a possible bout between Haye and the winner of Parker and Ruiz.
Yeah,
the date.
In case people don't know, like the way the WBO ruled, the winner of Parker Ruiz has to make the fight happen with David Haye within 120 days. So the fight has to happen within 120 days. If David Haye is training for a fight with Tony Bellew that's going to happen in January or February, obviously he's not going to be ready for a training camp for a heavyweight title. So Parker's team has officially made a motion with the WBO that if they win, which I think a lot of people expect him to, that he should be allowed at least one voluntary defense. But that could also give Joseph Parker room to try to get into the Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder sweepstakes. And that may throw David Haye for a hell of a loop.
Indeed. Yeah, that is a problem. Let's move on and start ready to end the show, previewing what's happening really tomorrow and throughout the weekend. I'm going to you, Scorsese. Again, kind of the lightweight division has been kind of a theme throughout the show. Well, tomorrow in Moscow, a really good fight that's not being talked about a lot. Richard Jacome is fighting Denis Shafikov, IBF lightweight eliminator. Comey coming off of his very good performance in losing against Troublista, against Shafikov, who scored a very good win, I think on ESPN2 last time out. I want to pick Comey because of the power and because of the explosive nature of him as a fighter. My problem is, Scorsese, I'm worried because the fight is happening in Russia. If it goes a decision, I wonder, will he get a fair decision? Does Richard Comey have to knock him out to get the win?
Touchdown Cowboys, but yeah.
Later for the Cowboys, but proceed.
He's gonna have to first beat the hell out of this man to even think about getting anything close to a win, because this little dude don't play. He's one of my favorite fighters to watch, and I kind of want Shafikov to get the victory, but because he's just that guy that been in a big fight. When he fought Vasquez draped all over him all night. Ridiculous fight. Should have got disqualified. When he fought Bartholomew, just too small, but still in there. Every time he's a damn good fighter. It's just that pound for pound, he's literally probably one of the smallest people per division in a division. When you look at 135, guys ain't 5'4" and 5'5", but he is. And he's really competing in it. But I could say the same thing for Comey. He puts on great performances too, but he didn't get that victory. So it's like, it's kind of crossroads. It shouldn't be, because they still gonna be probably better than a lot of people in the division that's ahead of them. I don't know if a Linares can take shots from not teaching them, but Shafikov. I don't know, win, lose, or draw, if people can really still deal with them. But as far as the Russia comment, first he's gonna have to deal with the man in the ring, and secondly, he may have to deal with the scorecards. But he is the bigger man. He is a stronger man. He probably can adjust more than Shafikov should be able to, because he had a range in the ring to do so. I did see a small ring when I saw the venue. It was a very small venue. I think I remember seeing a very small ring too. But if they go in the phone booth and get the fight, man, both guys got a shot. I think Comey would be too big once again. Dude's too small for 135, but he got the heart of a heavyweight.
Jacob, your interest level in this fight?
Yeah, I think this should be a pretty good fight. I'm gonna roll with Comey in this because he impressed me a lot in that fight with Easter, and I think he'll be able to do enough. I get what you're saying though about the judging and all that, but I think he'll be able to do enough in the fight to be able to win. But hopefully it's a pretty good fight. I think it has potential to be a really good fight. But again, as we talked about earlier, and what you apologize for, what you didn't need to, sometimes when we think something's going to be really good, it isn't, and then sometimes we don't know, and then those are the ones that we talk about.
You're not worried? Are you worried any that Comey has kind of a quick turnaround, because the Easter fight was not that long ago, yet he's been put in a position where he has to go fight again on the road?
No, I'm not too worried about that because I like guys to be active. I really think there's a huge difference between being in the gym and getting in rounds and actually being in a fight. I just think there's a big difference between that. So I like people to be active. I like those turnarounds. And it's not like, if he had been through a bunch of like really tough fights, like what's his name, Vargas, that we just talked about earlier, where he had a tough fight with Murat and he has a tough fight with Salido, and then you want him to get back in the ring right away and have another tough fight. That to me, that's where it can get dangerous. But for me, I think he was very competitive in that fight. Some could argue that he won, and I think he'll be kind of his engine level will be good.
I'm just gonna open up Daniel, Gail. Your thoughts on this fight quickly?
Yeah, Comey has to do just that little more, because of the home cooking issue. But I think he's got it in him, and I agree with Jacob. Especially when you're a younger fighter and you're still establishing yourself, and you still got that energy, it's smart to get back in the ring. Don't let so much time go by. I would rather see them do this than err on the other side.
Daniel?
Yeah, this is going to turn to be a hell of a fight because Shakakov likes to fight on the inside. Comey likes to fight on the inside. And there's a little extra motivation for Comey because this is essentially, he's fighting for a rematch with Robert Easter because this is an IBF title eliminator. So
Good point.
So he's has some little extra motivation to it. There's a lot of people that felt that he should have won the fight versus Easter. That he should be holding the IBF strap right now. So there's a bit of motivation there. Now, both guys are crowd pleasing. Both guys like to fight in the inside. It's going to be a decent fight. Comey, I do agree. Comey, because he's in Russia, has to knock the guy out. There's almost no choice when it comes to Shakakov, unless he does exactly what he did to Easter, which pretty much almost forced the judges to think twice about who was winning that fight. You need to do the same thing with Shakakov. Now, granted, the attention of the country is probably going to be more on another fight we're going to talk about, but obviously that's going to be interesting. Now, win or lose, first of all, win or lose, both of these guys. Shakakov versus Stolichnyin. Like Gus said, give me that war and I'll be happy.
Let's move on. Denis Lebedev fighting, I believe this is mandatory, Saturday in Moscow. Troyanovsky is defending his junior welterweight belt as well. I'm going to combine two fights into one here and just let anybody who wants to chime in talk about those fights.
Talking about Lebedev and Gassiev.
Yeah.
I seen Gassiev on PBC versus Schemmel. It would be the knockout of the year for me if Thomas Williams Jr. wouldn't have failed the way he fell after that shot he took. That one would be my knockout of the year because he kept that dude on the canvas for 4 minutes. I counted. And they had oxygen on his face. He was asleep the entire time. I don't think he's going to beat Lebedev, though. I think he waits too long. He's very quick, though. That's something else I noticed about him. Schemmel was moving and jabbing. This dude tried to catch him with the fastest Floyd Mayweather, like right hand. So I might be wrong. I think Lebedev just going to move to better than Schemmel and drop more power than Schemmel. And
you don't think the age may be a concern with Lebedev?
Now he was moving so well in his last fight. Like he was just he didn't stop. He was just damn near moving like what's the other cruiserweight we talk about?
Usyk.
Yeah, I was like, damn, he got some jets on him and he got some pop and some power when he throw it. I think his experience gonna win him the fight, and Gassiev gonna have to take the L.
Anybody else want to talk about Lebedev and Gassiev as well as Troyanovsky in his title defense?
I think Gassiev is going to be a lot tougher than people give him credit for. And you have to remember that Gassiev is trained by Abel Sanchez up at Big Bear, and he calls him my cruiserweight Golovkin. Well, I think that's going a little bit far. But if you watch Gassiev train in particular, he fights a lot like a tall, big Golovkin. He likes that left hook. He tucks that chin in. He moves the same way. He's clearly learned how to cut off a ring by watching Golovkin in particular. And yeah, he might be a bit of a surprise. I think he's very capable of being a surprise. He can't let himself get overwhelmed. He can't worry about the home crowd for Lebedev. I think he does have a legitimate chance at making this at least very competitive, if not an outright chance to win. But again, not on home turf. You know, he's gotten used to working out of California. The one thing, though, Gassiev does have in his hip pocket, a lot like some of the other guys we've discussed tonight, especially Orlando Salido, he has a few dirty tricks up his sleeve. And if he decides to launch any of them and he gets away with it, you never know. Just keep an eye on it. He does pull that stuff.
I forgot about that punch after the bell. He landed. Damn.
Yeah, he is not afraid to play a little bit dirty. Now, that was stupid because that was so obvious. But he is willing to use some muscle.
He got pound for pound
in ways he's not really supposed to.
Yeah.
I got Gassiev by knockout.
Oh.
I think he's gonna catch him. And he's gonna knock him out. I'm gonna say like 8th round.
You know who that man is? Hey, yo, that's a tough cat to knock out.
Yeah. Well, I think no joke. But I think if he's smart, he will employ a body attack. He'll wear him down a little bit, and then that's when he'd have the chance to do it. He can't just run at him at the opening bell. He's gonna have to chop at the tree, and his body work is very, very good.
It is a very good body attack, and it's like Gassiev. If people haven't seen him, like I forgot one of the previous shows that Triple G had, they had him with Gassiev running around in training.
Yeah,
so he's visible.
Yeah, those guys do hang. I mean, it's interesting camp, you know, and they very much look to Golovkin as sort of the leader of the pack. They go running around up there. They do their road work up there together, you know, and they're very tight. And they do watch, you know, Golovkin. They mimic him. They see what they can put in their arsenal that's similar. And of everybody up there, Gassiev is the one whose tools are so similar, you know, and it's so interesting at a bigger size that he is, because he lacks, you know, some of the speed and some of the accuracy, but like I say, he can make up for it in some other ways, and some of them being, you know, the dirty tricks. What I'll be real interested to see is if he decides, say, to clinch and hang on Lebedev, especially if he is successful in the body work early and then he decides to sort of lean on him to wear him out, kind of a Klitschko thing. I wouldn't be surprised. And then that's when he sets himself up for that possible knockout.
Okay, if Terry Flanagan is your favorite fighter, Daniel, Billy Joe Saunders is your second favorite fighter. He's finally making his first title defense of the WBO middleweight strap against Artur Akavov in Scotland Saturday. Your thoughts, sir?
All right, let me get on this Lebedev train first before I go out, because Lebedev ain't exactly an easy man to knock out. He actually has a height disadvantage versus Gassiev, a pretty noticeable one. And the trick is if he's going to use that to his advantage. Because he can move around and he'll be able to counter what Gassiev's going to throw. And I think Lebedev's going to win. And it's going to be a good fight. Troyanovsky, he's very underrated for 140 pounds. But he hurts himself by just staying in Russia, unfortunately, with that belt. Now, let's get on to Billy Ho. This fight should have happened on Saturday.
That was a good one.
Being dug by Canelo.
Yep.
That's right.
So, this is going to be the thing. Billy Ho, this fight should have happened last week. And you delayed it because apparently you don't have people that read Russian in your corner. So there's that one. Number two, the opponent wasn't even, I think, ranked in the top 15 when you picked him, and now he's magically ranked in the top 10 for the WBO. And number three, if you take him lightly, you'll suffer the same fate that Andy Lee fell to you. Because in many ways, I think Andy Lee took Billy Joe Saunders a little bit lightly. And ultimately lost that fight based on those knockdowns. But on this instance, if he takes it a little bit lightly, he's going to lose a big payday. A payday he could have gotten in September, by the way, with Canelo Alvarez. And if he loses that, then the only fight that's irrelevant, that has any relevance, is a rematch with Eubanks. And apparently Eubanks already has rejected a rematch with Billy Ho for money reasons. So we have to see how this shapes up, because it's literally going to be almost a year since we last saw Saunders in the ring. And as I said, a year's ring rust is not exactly a fun thing to see. We just saw it last week with Nicholas Walters. But then that was against a master boxer that he was going into in Lomachenko.
How crazy would it be if he quit 2 weekends in a row? Quit.
Oh, I would be delighted so many ways. Because I had this conversation with Scorsese. He walked out of a guaranteed fight with Canelo. All he had to do was beat Gabe Rosado. And Billy, as much as I give crap to Billy Ho at this stage of the game, he can beat Gabe Rosado.
For sure.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, so he could have just taken that fight and then make the fight with Canelo. He chose not to.
I agree with him on it, though, but I had to think about it a minute. I had basically gave up on 160, but when Canelo puts a block in front of you and it's a golden boy fighter, and they've been talking about Canelo versus Gabe Rosado for years now. If they take your title from you on the undercard, you beat them, but you go to the scorecards and you hit 117, 111, not your way. It's like, why did the other UK guy, Smith, get to go right to a Canelo shot? I could too, you know. I can do that as well. I'm more known than him, so I kind of look like that roadblock is sort of a duck from Golden Boy. And I don't agree with Billy Joe as far as Triple G. He probably should have took the fight, but I think he wants to beat Canelo first, and I think he gives Canelo a lot of problems. I even think I think he would beat Canelo, but give Triple G a lot of problems. His best word.
No way.
Yeah, I think he beats Canelo.
No way.
You know how much more Eubank Jr. is probably more strong and more aggressive than Canelo, and he dealt with that man in his first big step up fight. He dealt with that man. He went in there.
Canelo is a light heavyweight fighting at fucking super middleweight.
But Canelo's gonna try to box. Canelo try to box with the probably more accurate, probably quicker. Billy is naturally fast-handed and got some fast feet too. I think he get Canelo all kind of. I mean,
I hate Canelo, but I got to give him credit for his body work. He chips away at people, and I hate Canelo. I think he's totally overrated, but he has improved and he has great body work, and I think he gets to beat Billy Joe Saunders.
But that's what Eubanks does. He go to that body well, but Billy was catching his shots and returning fire, and it's just like had to be impressed and for his first big step up. Like him and Canelo both have a very good resume. You look at Andy Lee, well, it ain't very good, but you see his first step up, Eubank Jr., who can punch, who can be mad aggressive, who can come forward like not too many other people. That's about all he can do. But he does that pretty damn good when he decides to do it. And then Andy Lee, we know he can hit you one time and get you out of there. Billy Joe is the one getting him out of there. So I'm telling you.
But you know, I don't even think he believes in himself though, or his team doesn't, because he was offered money for these fights and he doesn't take it. So either you think you're gonna win, or you think you're gonna lose.
But like I said to Daniel, Frank Warren know the game. He bring people over there. He take titles from people when he do it. If he got to do it, you don't want to go fight on the Golden Boy undercard. You want to go straight to Canelo. You don't want to get a chance. If Billy Joe was a knockout artist, I would agree. Go take that fight, knock him out. Man, not a knockout artist. He's a boxer and easy to rob. And I think he would go back to the UK on the outside looking in, regardless of what they promised him. And I wouldn't come over here fighting on the undercard either. I wouldn't do it.
But you're not. You know what? Great, he got the title, but you've been out for a year. You know, if you're not fighting, I don't care. You're not making money. That's the bottom line.
He back. He back.
We will see. We will see.
Let's not forget this thing. That title does not give him any leverage right now in this fight. It's one of the reasons why, unfortunately, Smith took the deal that he did with Canelo, because he knew Canelo business-wise was the A side. Billy Ho Saunders is really just trying to position himself to be on equal footing with Canelo business-wise, which we know he can't. And honestly, like I said, if you know at this stage of the game, you can easily beat Gabe Rosado. And that it's a fundamental fact that Billy Joe Saunders at this stage can beat Gabe Rosado pretty easily.
He got beat by Monroe.
To come to the UK and respect that he beat him wherever he beat him. You know what I mean? You don't want to go get promoted by somebody else's promote. I wouldn't do it. This is boxing. This is the world of dark organizations and bullshit, basically. So I wouldn't do it. I'm sorry. I would say, come over here. We beat them. Then can we fight? But they won't do that more than likely.
Scorsese. So let me ask you this question. With Walters, the complaint is that the promotion companies aren't getting him fights. He's not making the money and all that stuff. But then Billy Joe Saunders is getting offered fights and getting offered money. So why it seems like it's a double standard there.
No. I'm talking about Walters as far as it's his own promoter. It's his own, not Golden Boy as somebody dogging him out or giving him a fight or giving him ultimatums. This is basically what Golden Boy did. Said this is an ultimatum. You fight my guy and we'll give you this guy. Now, I don't think if Frank Warren was doing this, saying, Billy, I own Canelo, and if you fight, I own you too. If you fight on that, I would kind of trust it more. But Golden Boy possibly could bring him over, rob him, and then put on the in-house fight with Rosado, Puerto Rican versus Mexican, Canelo, and be like, damn, Gabe Rosado is a warrior. He never supposed to got this far. He got a belt, and we all looking like, man, he took that title. You know what I mean? Y'all bought that title for him. And I mean, if, like I said, the dude was a knockout artist, I would be like, get on it now. But if you're going to call him a hoe, you got to be like Canelo. Why do you need stipulations to fight a hoe? Like, come on, man. You Canelo.
Because you knew the game plan. I understand the game plan. It's one of the reasons why Gabe doesn't like Canelo at this stage of the game. But I understand the game plan. And in all honesty, if you're going to rob Billy Ho of a title, you do it with Lemieux. You do it with a guy that already is already a former title holder, and you can still hold him in the top 10 in middleweight. You do it with him.
Anybody.
Can we even talk about Rosado? He lost to Monroe.
He lost to nobody.
No offense, but Rosado is not a fighter worthy enough to give that kind of kill.
Hell, Rosado lost to Gutierrez at StubHub, except that they gave Rosado the card. Give me a break.
Yeah, but
I like Gabe, but yeah.
They still press him with Canelo. They mention him with Canelo still. They still do this, so I don't put it past them. If they would have just been like, okay, wash our hands with him, they haven't though. They haven't. They refuse.
No, because he does sell fights.
Puerto Rican, Mexican.
Cooperative.
Puerto Rican, Mexican.
Yeah, there's just a lot of marketable.
He hasn't done enough to give justification for someone to give him a gift.
Oh, no. He was in Creed. That's the justification. And I'm only half joking.
And it's not even that.
Gail, you brought up my theory. Remember I was telling you about Creed? I said this on one show. Remember Andre Ward won the, or he got, he was awarded the fight.
Well,
all those people. Who was the guy? Bellew? Was it Bellew?
Bellew, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, the truth is, we can all argue about all of this and talk about Billy Ho, but have any of you really missed him for the last year? I haven't. I could care less.
Agreed.
Good shit talker. I want to see him and Eubank do it again. I want to see him beat Eubank again because he's going to. And, for him to be a hoe, he's offered dude like 3 or 4 offers and they won't fight him. So it's like, he's trying to ease into Golovkin. I don't blame him. He's trying to ease into that. He's trying to beat the Canelo first. I get it. I do like Billy Joe. I like that he can box. I used to be kind of hard on him, but that dude can fight, man. He can do it.
Well, there's a
that Lee fight was closer though than.
Yeah, it was.
It was close.
The knockdowns made the fight.
Yeah.
But, he take his foot off the gas a lot.
But it's all good and fine if you can fight, but if you don't fight, it's just as bad as if you can't fight at all.
Exactly, that's it. And that's the thing.
He back. We get him back though. He's a few wins from pound for pound list. I really do think that.
Oh, please.
No.
If he beats a Canelo.
Really?
He's not, wait a minute, Scorsese. I'm gonna kill your theory with just one thing. You mentioned Eubanks. Eubanks comes forward. Canelo counterpunches. He's gonna make Billy Ho be the aggressor in this fight.
If he boxes with Billy Joe, I promise you, he is in for I'm telling you, if he beats Canelo, he's on my pound for pound list of what he's done so far. He's not in the front, but he's somewhere in there. He's in the back end, and I'm gonna be like, wow, he's an overachiever. But I don't think Canelo can afford to plant his feet and look for counters with Billy Joe. This dude got a lot of head movement, a lot of hand speed. I'm telling you, man.
I can't wait to bet you on that fight if that fight happens.
Here's going to be the main point.
I would never bet against Canelo. I know the scorecard's trick. Billy is not no knockout point. No way.
It's not even that. If you told me if this was the Canelo that just lost to Floyd, I would agree. But he's learned some things since he lost to Floyd. So I still would give him a pretty decent shot at beating Saunders now.
Based on what? Based on who beating I think Billy Joe would beat Cotto. I do.
Billy Joe would beat Cotto. Billy Joe would beat Cotto in what? Batman?
No, he would beat listen to but Andy Lee would probably beat Cotto right now. We gotta face it.
I think Saunders has a good shot to beat Cotto.
I'm serious. Like I don't think Canelo's learned as much as we give him credit for. He's picked opponents to make him like Cotto was a manufactured big fight because we've been waiting on it so long. So it's like, hey, make him wait. When it comes, they be like, yeah, we've been waiting. Forget it, we'll take it. But Cotto's really not trying to mess with no top junior middleweights or middleweights. He wanted to fight Lamont Peterson. Cotto knows the door's closing, and Canelo kind of knew it too. And it was like, okay. I just think Billy Joe, that guy, man, people are overlooking. I just do.
It's not overlooking. He, like I said, if he would have fought immediately, if he would have fought Triple G in February when they offered him the money and still would have gotten his ass whooped, if he would have gotten a mollywop, I would give him props like, hey, you're a champion. You fought the scariest guy in the division. You lost, but you know what? You defended your title. You did, but he's done everything possible not to fight until now. I'm not going to give you a leeway when it comes to that. That's hoish behavior. That's why I call him Billy Ho.
Who's rushing in the Triple G? Who's rushing in the Triple G though? Nobody. Can we say Daniel Ho? Can we say Canelo Ho? Somebody did rush in the Triple G, and I'll say it again. His name was David Lemieux. Oh, he sold his title. Billy Joe was really trying to work to better himself.
No. When everybody, I'm gonna do this. When everybody thought that Golden Boy was trying to get him 2 or 3 easy defenses and they get Triple G, Lemieux said, no, fuck it, I'll fight Triple G now.
Man, look, this guy fought Eubank without a real title being online. He's not a whole. His career could have been. He could have got kicked out of the top 15 out of organizations for a loss like that. Nothing about that is being the whole. It's like he's building up to. He beat Eubank. He was the mandatory for Well, I think it was a Mando fight. If it wasn't, it was because they had to take it off and put it back on. He got that position, and now it's like he's trying to work to beat them. I think
he's not working to beat them. He's not working to beat them.
Possibly Cotto. He will. He will. Well, we have to see.
We have to see because
quickly, Daniel, before I end the show.
I think, like I said, if he takes himself a little bit too lightly, we may actually be talking about Akavov holding a middleweight title, which is sad in itself.
Well, this is all conjecture at this point. And we will find out. Look, he's this Akavov guy. He's not gonna beat Saunders. This is a gimme title defense here. We all know it, and we will see in terms of his future afterwards. So we will talk about all this next week. And I think we're gonna start to shut the show down on that note.
Whoa, wait! You're forgetting a big fight on Friday night, headlining in Las Vegas at Sam's Town. Ashley Theophane.
Really, Gail?
She has to do this every show.
I have to do it.
If it's not bringing up Broner or Chavez Jr.
When I saw his name on the roster, I just about peed my pants laughing. And he's the main event. He is the main event. But I think the venue holds about 900 people. So
you're lucky. You're lucky we're at the end of the show out of mutual for that. With that being said, I will go around and hang out here, starting with you, Gail. Quickly, Daniel, quickly.
No, let me top Gail for a minute. Apparently, Victor Ortiz has announced the battle for Kansas is on.
That's correct.
Brandon Rios versus Victor Ortiz for February 4th. Apparently, it's going to happen. The debauchery is going to be insane, and oh dear God, this is going to happen.
Where is this happening?
I think they're going to actually have it in Kansas.
Good. Maybe a tornado will sweep them away to fucking Oz.
Wow. Did you guys see what we got versus Walmart? And that's the reason I want to see it. Bring it on. Ortiz and Rios. That's what you're saying.
Yep.
Oh,
watch out for pizza boxes.
I'm there.
See, you want that World Star bullshit.
I'm there. I might be there.
You want that World Star bullshit.
I need it.
No. Well, no, it's bad if you have it in Kansas. For one simple fact, those two have legitimate street beef.
Whoa. Excellent.
So you want that stuff to end up on World Star and Media Takeout.
I want to end up on PBC.
Is it on PBC? What channel is that? Or what?
Yeah, it's probably going to be on PBC. It's probably going to I'll find up the PBC card that's on February 4th.
We're going to get a pretty dope undercard. You got to get a pretty dope undercard because you don't really have to pay neither one of them. Huge. So I take it. Damn, this is dope. It really is.
Scorsese. Come on.
The National Enquirer boxing shit at its finest. Let's start into the show. I guess on that comical note, I'll go around the hangout here. Gail Falkenthal, digital news. For folks who want to talk to Sweet Science, well, Dancing with the Stars is over. Anything else, Game of Thrones, let the folks know the time.
Hey, we had some serious discussion. I had to interject a lighter note. And by the way, Roman Martinez is fighting in Puerto Rico too, so that's something else to note. He has a comeback fight. You can find me to talk about guys like Ashley Theophane, Billy Ho, and my other various players out there, right? And the serious discussions of the sport, including Vasyl Lomachenko, pound for pound, women's boxing, and all the stuff we've got coming up this month to end the year at Communities Digital News, which is COM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I News, comdiginews.com, and always on the Pound for Pound Boxing Report.
Indeed, thanks for joining us again. Scorsese, for folks who want to talk to Sweet Science or anything else, let the folks know where they can hit you out.
Hey, I'd rather watch Ortiz and Rios before Rocky Martinez. I'm just saying. But anyways,
I'll give you that.
anyways, Twitter at Milo Place, all one word, and YouTube, Low Place #MLPF.
Jacob Rivera, Jab Hook Boxing, for folks who want to talk to Sweet Science or anything else. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show as always, Mike. I want to encourage everybody to subscribe, like, write a review, give this show support. It's an excellent show, best on the web. Yeah, I can be found at Twitter at JRATM23 or at jabhookboxing.com. And if you can, check out the piece. I did an interview with Gail, Miss Falkenthal.
Right.
Thank you so much for doing the interview. And I know I have one lined up with you, Mike. But she follow her. She knows her stuff. She's great ambassador for the sport. So Gail, I hope you like the article, and I hope we can do another one.
I did indeed, and man, he made me think awfully hard about some of those questions. It was thorough, folks. It was thorough. Excellent.
Daniel Carpio, the inscriber, for folks who want to talk boxing or the NBA, specifically the Miami Heat, let the folks know where they can find you.
All right, folks, you can find me at Walkers99 on Twitter. Write for the Inscriber magazine. I have to write for next week because next weekend you better have your coffee, folks. That's all I'm saying. You better have your coffee because December 10th is going to be one long day for boxing fans.
Indeed, you're right about that. For folks who want to talk to Sweet Science, music, or anything else with me, you know what it is. Brother JR on Twitter at BrotherJR76. As I stated earlier in the show, if you want to find out all things Pound for Pound Boxing Report, please go to the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. Check the right of the page. You'll see the links where to find the Pound for Pound Boxing Report pages on Facebook, Tumblr, G+, Twitter, YouTube. Also links to where to listen to us on Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, iTunes Player, .fm, as well as the email address, which is now tigernET@gmail.com. On the next episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, we will do a recap of Comey and Shapovalov, of the Lebedev bout with Gassiev, the Troyanovsky fight, as well as Billy Joe Saunders' first title defense. And to Daniel's point, we will preview all the boxing that's happening on December 10th. Terrence Crawford's going to be in the ring. Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz for the vacant WBO belt on HBO, by the way. Same day coverage. Anthony Joshua, he's going to be fighting Eric Molina. Dillian White is going to fight Derek Chisora on the grudge match on that Joshua Molina undercard. Jesus Cuellar fighting Abner Morris. Grudge match between Jamal Charlo, Julian Williams. That's going to be happening in LA on Showtime. So much boxing that I don't have to talk about Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who's going to be fighting on that same day. Yay!
Thank you.
So for Gail Falkenthal, Communities Digital News, for Scorsese, for Jacob Rivera of Jab Hook Boxing, for Daniel Carpio, the inscriber, I'm your host, Michael. This has been episode 148 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. Again, as a thank you, Chocolate Star of Lies, Danielle and Jarrett, for mentioning my show on your show this week. So for everybody, I'm your host, Michael. This has been another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. We will see you guys next week. Good night.
Roy Jones Jr. versus Bobby Gunn.
Stop
Good
it.
night. Stay safe.
And with that, you get muted again, sir.
Hey, Gil.